Have you ever noticed how some people who were absolute rock stars in school, the ones with perfect grades, just seem to hit a wall in the real world? Today, we're going to talk about something called the intelligence trap and really dig into that huge confusing gap between getting an A+ and actually succeeding in life.
It's a paradox, right? The valedictorian struggles to lead a team while someone who barely graduated is launching a successful business. Well, the answer isn't about being smarter in the way we usually think about it. It's about a completely different kind of intelligence that our schools pretty much ignore. So, if you've ever felt like your skills from the classroom just aren't cutting it out here, this is for you.
All right, so the first piece of this whole puzzle is what experts call the analytical trap. And this is a wild one because it's where the very skills that made you a top student can actually become your biggest weakness once you're out of school.
So a lot of this comes from Robert Sternberg's Triarchic Theory of Intelligence. Schools are just obsessed with what he calls analytical intelligence. This is your ability to solve clear problems that have one single correct answer. Think of it like being really, really good at a board game where the rules are all laid out for you, and there's a clear "you win" space at the end.
But here's the thing. Life isn't a board game. The real world doesn't come with an instruction manual. Most problems we face are what you'd call ill-defined. They're messy, they're ambiguous. Imagine that straight-A student starting their first job. The boss says, hey, we need to increase engagement on this project. Make it happen. There's no textbook, no multiple choice options. They might just freeze, trying to find the one right answer, when in reality, there are a dozen good paths forward. That school logic just doesn't work here.
So, if analytical intelligence isn't the whole story, then what is? Well, this brings us to the second part of Sternberg's theory, practical intelligence. This is what we're really talking about when we say street smarts. Practical intelligence is all about applying what you know to the real world, to messy situations. I mean, think about someone like Richard Branson. He had a really tough time with school, but he had an incredible knack for understanding people and taking smart risks. That's practical intelligence in a nutshell. It's not just about what's in your head. It's about how you use it to adapt, to persuade, and to actually get things done.
And this is what it looks like when you see it in action. Somebody who really gets this becomes what you might call a maven. They can read a room, they know how to rally a team around an idea, and they don't panic when things go sideways. These are the skills that actually build careers, not just pass exams.
And here's the absolute kicker. Your practical intelligence has almost nothing to do with your traditional IQ score. They can be completely separate. You could be a genius in one and, well, not so much in the other. This totally explains why you see brilliant professors who can't manage a simple budget or high school dropouts who build empires. They're just running on two completely different operating systems.
Okay, so beyond the type of intelligence you rely on, there's another massive barrier. And this one is super personal. It's all about what you believe about your own abilities.
Researcher Carol Dweck figured this out with her work on two powerful mindsets. On the left, you've got the fixed mindset. These folks think intelligence is like your eye color. You're born with it, and that's that. So any failure feels like a huge permanent stain on who they are. They get defensive. But on the right, you've got the growth mindset. These people see intelligence like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. For them, failure isn't the end of the world. It's just feedback. It's data for the next rep.
And that mindset you have, it directly feeds into this next idea, your locus of control. Basically, it comes down to this. Who do you believe is actually steering the ship? Are you the pilot of your own life, or are you just a passenger along for the ride?
Someone with an external locus of control feels like life just happens to them. If they get passed over for a promotion, it's because their boss is a jerk or the system is rigged. But someone with an internal locus of control, they see themselves as the pilot. They own their actions. They ask, okay, what could I have done differently? What skills do I need to build for next time? They know that their choices create their reality.
All right, so we've talked about the what and the why. But how do you actually change any of this? This next bit is the most important part. It's like a master key for your mind that unlocks all of this.
The secret is mastering something called verbal fabrication. Yeah, it sounds a little complicated, but all it really means is your internal conversation. You know, that voice in your head that's always talking? That's not just random noise. That's the code, the software that's running your entire life. Here's where most of us get stuck. A thought pops up like, I totally messed that up, and immediately we attach it to our identity. It becomes, I am a failure. The huge mental shift here is to stop being the judge of yourself and instead become more like a craftsperson at a workbench. The thought isn't you, it's just a piece of wood. You can look at it, evaluate it, and decide what to do with it.
So here's how you do it. 3 steps. First, you isolate the thought.
Just pull it out and look at it objectively, like it's not a part of you. Step 2, you run the 24-hour test. Ask yourself, if I believe this thought is 100% true for the next day, what will I do? Where will it lead me? And third, use what we call strategic discernment. If that thought leads you down a path of inaction or failure, you just drop it. You consciously, deliberately choose a better thought that leads to better actions.
Let's pull all of this together into something you can use right now. Think of this as your new user manual for building a more effective mental code.
Here it is, your checklist. Start noticing when you're trying to find a perfect answer that doesn't exist. Get comfortable with not knowing everything. That's intellectual humility. Shift from blaming others to taking ownership. And most important of all, become the editor of your own internal script. Test your thoughts, and then choose to run the ones that actually move you forward.
Because at the end of the day, your intelligence, your IQ, all of it, it's just a tool in the toolbox. Discernment, the wisdom to choose the right thought for the right job, that's the real skill. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, the one who gets to decide which program to run.
And so that brings us right here to the final question for you. Think about that one negative looping thought you have, that stagnant water story that's been holding you back. Which failure script are you ready to drag to the trash bin starting right now?